Hello, good afternoon. How are you all doing? Okay. This should be coming up. Is it coming up? It's coming up. There it is. Ta-da! Okie dokie. Well, I'll just mute that. Pop that over there. Well, it's over here because I'm going to need all sorts of things today. So, welcome to episode 4 of budgeting. Today, we're going to be looking at living on benefits. Now, for many of you, this may not be a thing, but it might give you a little bit of an insight what it's like for people living on benefits. Okay, and have a little bit more understanding, which I think is in some cases lacking. So I just want to, have that going. So, all right, so I'm going to go through a little bit of really boring stuff to start off with. Okay. And it is UK based. The information that I have here is UK based. It's off the government websites. It's off the statistics websites. And it's for the year ending 2020, because obviously we've just finished the 2021 tax year, so those numbers aren't in yet, but it's as near as I can get. Okay. Now, the population in the UK is expected to be 67.44 million by the end of 2022. At the moment, it's about 67.22 million. The amount of people on universal credit are 5.9 million. 40% of them, okay, so over 2 million are actually working, and they have to have universal credit as to top up. All right, so it's not that they're not working, because they are working. It's just that they're not earning enough, which is ridiculous. And I'll just shush for a second on that. Gosh, wow. 12.5 million people are on pensions, like old age pensions and stuff like that. And in August of 2020, the weekly payment for men, because there is a different payment for women, the weekly payment for men was £166.22, and for women it's £159.26. Now, frankly, I think that's disgusting, but that is what it is. There are 1.9 people on disability payments, 3 million people on housing benefit, 4 million people on personal independence payment or disability living allowance, which is the child's version. It's a top-up payment for people with disabilities. I have PIP myself. ESA, which is the equivalent of disability payments here in the UK, there are 1.9 million people. And carers allowance, there's only 1.3 million people. They don't even touch the sides. I mean, the numbers are huge, okay? They seem huge, but if you look at it in the grand scheme of things, it's less than 20% of the population that are on any kind of benefit. And most of them are OAPs, old age pensioners, okay? So when the government or media say people on benefits, they tend to lump them in as well. Now, people on pensions tend to have worked all their lives and paid into a pension scheme or the government pension scheme. To me, they shouldn't be included on benefits, because it's not a benefit. It's a savings account that they paid into over the course of their working life and are now drawing on to live. That's what a pension is. Okay, so They shouldn't be included in benefits, but they are, because it bumps the numbers up and makes it look awful. Period. That's what it's all about. So minimum wages in this country ranges from £4.81 if you're an apprentice to £9.50, and these are as of today. Okay, as of today, 1st of April 2022. Statutory sick pay is £96.35 a week, and it's only available to those who have been sick for more than 4 days. So your first 4 days you're sick, you get nothing. Nothing. And you can have statutory sick pay for up to 28 weeks, which is 6 months. Okay? But yeah, you get nothing if you're off for 4 days or under, which is why a lot of people who have flus, colds, and the big C tend to only take a day off, the worst day off, because they don't get enough to live on. So housing benefit amounts. Now, this is going to be really, really important in a minute. Okay. Housing benefit is there to help people who are on benefits or who aren't earning enough to pay rent. Okay. So at the moment, if you have a shared room, you're entitled to £325.89 a month if you're living in York, which is where we are. These numbers tend to bounce around anywhere between certain amounts. If you live in London, it's going to be £50 more than it is if you're living in York. Or if you're living in the middle of nowhere, it's going to probably be about £100 more than where you're living. So it depends on where you're living. However, even for a 3-bedroom house, it's only £725, and the rents here in York for a 3-bedroom house minimum are around £1,200 a month. So it doesn't even touch the sides. Not really. It really doesn't. New rates of tax benefits coming in today. The eldest and only child is going up to £21.80 per week, which is 65p more. And additional children, it's £14.45, which is going up by 45p per child. It's not a lot of money to live on. And if you're on universal credit, did I not write this down? I thought I wrote this down. I'm a numpty. Give me 2 seconds, guys, and I'll sort this out. Universal credit payments amount. Here we go. All right. Now, if you are single and under 25, it's £257.33 a month. Okay. If you're single and 25 or over, it's £324.84 a month. If you're in a couple and you're over 25, it's £509.91 a month. Okay. And if you're under 25 and you're in a couple, it's £403.93 a month. It's not even double the amount of single persons' rates. It's 1 and a bit. Which is why there are those who will claim separately but be living together, and one of them have their parents' address or a friend's address or something like that, because it's cheaper but they're better off that way, which is really unfair. It's unfair to them. It's unfair to everybody, you know. Now, if you couple the fact that universal credit are those amounts and add housing benefit to them, they still don't have the money to pay the rent in York for a 2-bedroom property, because 2-bedroom property starts at £800 to £900 can go up to £1,200 a month and more. I've seen one that was £2,500 a month because it was in the middle of town and furnished, and it was a flat, so, or apartment, depending on where you come from. So yeah, not a lot of money. It basically means that there are now 5.9 million households or individuals that are living on times 52 equals half of what minimum wage is per year. Hang on, I got that wrong. What was I doing? 324 times 12 equals £4,000. That's £3,888 a year. That's, yeah, if you're on universal credit and you can't work for whatever reason, okay, and there is obviously a reason, you're living on less than £4,000 a year. That's not including housing benefit, and most of those people will be utilizing housing benefit, and if they include that, then they're on to about £7,000 a year. Okay, it's not a lot of money. With that, you have to pay your electric, your gas, your food. Internet is now a given, and these are important necessities for life. You have to pay for your water. And at some point, you have to think about feeding yourself and clothing yourself and all of that kind of thing. And I know that there are those who, you know, would argue that, you know, they could go and get a job. But can I just tell you that there aren't enough jobs out there for people to get. A lot of the jobs that we used to get when we were younger now expect you to have university degrees, at least a BA. Even to go into the police force, they expect you to have a BA. So, you know, it's not as easy as it seems. However, I will say this. There are ways of living on that amount of money. Tanny and I, we were on £360 a fortnight when I was on disability payments before he went back to work. Plus we had the 340 from PIP. So we had about £1,000 a month to live on. Still not a lot of money, I could tell you that now. And he had carers payments as well, which is, they take £50 out of your payment so that he can have £60 a week. So they take £100 off you so that he can have 64. Yeah, that's how carers payment works. So you're actually only about £14 a week better off than you were. So he was then being my full-time carer 7 days a week, 24 hours a day, with no breaks, for £14 a week. And it's, when you look at it that way and you start realizing what's actually going on and the ways that they're playing with numbers, etc., it's absolutely abhorrent. I'm not going to lie. It's abhorrent. Now, okay, so living on benefits. I want to reiterate, the people living on benefits are surviving. They're not living. And most of them are not thriving. Many of them are not thriving at all. Those that you see that are drinking and smoking tend to do that in lieu of eating. They will, you know, they tend to do that instead of eat. Cigarettes being a appetite suppressant, the same with alcohol. So for those who do smoke and drink, that's so that they don't have to worry about the fact that they can't eat. In the last few years, food banks have exploded in number in this country. They have done so, and they are reporting that nearly 80% of the people who visit them are actually working poor. That means that minimum wage is not covering their bills, and they cannot afford to eat or feed their children. Now, Trussell Trust, which is the biggest food bank provider in the country, there are lots of other food bank organizations that are normally very local to their area. But Trussell Trust is the biggest one. It's the one I've worked with before, on both sides of the table, I'll just say. And you're only supposed to get 3 parcels a year, 3 food parcels a year. Now, if you are constantly in the state of being not earning enough, but unable to leave your job, unable to get universal credit because you are £50 to £100 a month too well off to get the subsidy help, which we found ourselves in that situation, just by the by, and which means that you can then not get housing benefit help, which means that you're now paying exorbitant rents. I think you're in a really tough situation. One of the things that you need to understand as well is that people who are living on benefits, it's very difficult in this country to get private rental. There are 2 reasons for this. One, some of the landlords who have bought a property purely to rent, and maybe on their part of their mortgage that they're not permitted to actually accept DSS, or what's known as DSS claimants as tenants. This is because of the extra insurances that would be needed and the fact that they're seen as unreliable. However, and also to be a landlord and accept housing benefit, you've got to jump through hoops. There's all kinds of things that they have to deal with as landlords to do with the local councils and housing benefit, and they only pay in arrears. They don't pay, a month in advance, which a full paying rental tenant would be paying a month in advance, not a month behind. It's difficult. Also, in the case of housing benefit fraud, the council would expect the landlord to chase the tenant to recoup any losses, because they would be expected to pay back that money to the council, and so therefore would have to chase the tenant for the money lost. So there are reasons that they don't accept DSS claimants, but there are landlords who will. However, 4 years ago, it became law that no landlord can turn down a DSS customer as a tenant, as it is a breach of human rights and equality law. So they're not actually permitted to do it. There are still a lot of real estate agents in particular that just will make it as difficult as possible for people to get into private housing. And they will find any excuse to get you out within 12 months if you are actually successful and are in. It's very, very difficult. Trying to find private rental in this country is also very difficult, so that you don't have to go through the land agents, because yet again, as a part of the mortgage rules and regulations as far as landlords and tenants are concerned, hang on. Karen, hello, darling. I've lost my train of thought. It's gone. It's gone. It's gone. I always feel like I have to rewind. Okay, so yeah. Yeah. No, it's not you, darling. It wasn't you. I had a train of thought. I knew where I was going with it, and it kind of just went foof out the window. So yeah, I think it scared the cat. I think it got scared by the cat. It's okay. Um yeah. So private landlords really don't like renting out to people on benefits, and those on benefits know this already. What real estate agents have now done, because they're no longer allowed to say no to you as being a DSS claimant, applying for somewhere to live, because everyone has the right to have somewhere to live. They're making you find a guarantor. They're putting in extra payments so that you have to pay a bigger bond. And they're having extra admin fees, I believe, as well. A case with a friend of mine who was trying to find a place for her and her newborn. She was going to be charged something like £500 extra because she was DSS client, and because she has a cat, they were going to charge her another £750 for the cat, as a protective bond in case the cat did anything to the house, which was ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. That doesn't include the normal bond, which is 4 to 5 weeks rent in advance, and then you pay another month in advance. It's a lot of money to fork out for a shonky little flat, to be honest. And it is a shonky little flat. Yeah, it's pretty horrific. There is a way to get around the pet bond, and the pet bond, the way to get around that is to register your pet, whether it be a cat or a dog. And you only do this for one animal. If you've got multiple animals, don't bother. But if you have one animal and it's an older animal and you don't want to rehome it or whatever, and you don't have the money to pay, you can actually register your animal as a companion animal. So that registers them as either mental health or physical health guardian animal. So at that point, they are not allowed to charge you the pet bond because it's a working animal, which is there for health reasons. So yeah, and that costs £50 to register online. And it's probably the best option, to be honest. I'm not going to lie, that's probably your best option. Yeah. Oh, pardon me. So yeah, private landlords and welfare claimants, one of the reasons why many private landlords only rent to salaried clients is they are often in the buy-to-let category, as I tried to explain earlier. Terms of their mortgage do not allow them to rent to people living on benefits. Well, that now has to stop. As I said 4 years ago, there was a group of claimants who were DSS benefit people who went to court, and they were all on different benefits, and took it to court to have the law changed, and they won. So if you are on DSS benefits in this country, they cannot anymore legally refuse you a home. Okay, so yeah, just be aware of that. Yeah. And like I said, many private landlords do not wish to deal with the council as they have complex rules, and it's a pain in the bum. The other reason is, not only do they pay the housing benefit in arrears rather than a month in advance, they continue to use 4 weekly cycles rather than a calendar month. So it makes payments sometimes irregular, and the allowance rate can change without any warning. Okay, so that's not fun either. So landlords just tend to just go, do you know what, I'm not doing it. And I can understand it, but they don't have a choice anymore, and the mortgage lenders actually have to take that into account because it is a change in the law. So that's one thing. Now, so there's another one. So FAQs about living on benefits. Is there less childhood poverty than there was 20 years ago? Okay, so between 1998 and 2003, there was a major drift to lift children out of poverty. The effort was relatively successful, with around 600,000 children being lifted out of poverty. The situation for children living in poverty in the UK has changed since then. Poverty always used to be linked to joblessness. However, nowadays, employment does not always provide a route out of poverty. 75% of children who live in poverty in the UK come from a household where at least one person works. Yeah. The other thing that we need to look at as well, okay, so there is another issue that came up when it came down to, sorry, I'm jumping all over the place. My brain is just going toof today. Seriously, I'm really sorry. I've got a bit of a headache, and I think it's like a bit. I started having a fibro flare last night because of the weather, and I've had a headache ever since. So I'm doing my best. I'm trying really hard here, guys, but I'm kind of getting lost between my notes up here and my notes down here at the minute. So I'm doing what I can, I promise. Okay, so the introduction of the poll. I hear so many horror stories for renting. Yes. Now, I have just about talked Tanny into accepting going into private rental. The reason being that there is so little social housing due to everyone buying up their houses and the council's not replacing them. Where we live now, they're not replacing any of the tenants when they leave. The reason being that they want everybody out, so that they can start turning these flats into 3-bedroom houses, because there's such a shortage. Which means that there will then be a shortage of 1-bedroom house flats. However, if they do decide that they're going to go ahead with this and do so in the next year, they will have to pay for us to move, and they will have to find us somewhere decent to live in that is suitable for my needs, for our needs. Okay. So, yeah. So back in 2012, there was a Welfare Reform Act that came out and is commonly known as the bedroom tax, or RSRS. This basically meant that if people who were in social housing had an extra bedroom, that they would be expected to move. The only people that didn't have to move were people that are actually paying full rent that weren't on housing benefit. They didn't have to move. However, people then started being charged for their extra room. This did cause a lot of issues when it came down to families. Yeah, I'd like to get to move soon. But yeah, as much as it affected families, it did actually make it worse for disabled people, because disabled people at that point were allowed to have a room so that they could do their physio and have their physio equipment in the house with them now. So which meant that, if it was me and Tanny, we'd have a 2-bedroom house, that we could have the physio equipment that I require in a separate room. We're not allowed that anymore because of the bedroom tax rules. And the only reason that you can get a second room or a spare room if you are disabled is if you need a 24-hour carer who has to come out from outside of your home. So even though I have issues with pain levels that are so extreme on some days and this could be several days a week, where Tanny then has to sleep on the couch, that's not included. That doesn't count apparently at all. The fact that he has to climb over me to get into bed because the room is so small, again, doesn't count. And yeah, so we are still looking at possibly having a 1-bedroom place, but we are still fighting it and trying really hard to do that. But the only reason that we could possibly get around that is to go into private rental. Now, if we went into private rental, we would have to move out of York, so that we could actually afford rent, because even though Tanny is working, the rental market here is so extreme that it is pretty close to London rates as far as rents go. And that's horrific. Most of the big houses here that are 2, 3, 4 bedroom are lent out to students that go to the university, so because they can pay per room, which is more rent than people can pay for the house as a whole. And that's why rents are so expensive in York. Basically down to students and landlords being greedy and wanting the extra rent that they can get for doing each room rather than a whole house. So yeah, sucks. But this is the thing, is that people seem to forget there are actual real people that live in places, not just students or tourists, and the people who live here 24/7, 365 days a year and don't go home because it's raining, are stuck here, living and trying to survive. So, but it is okay. It is what it is. And those who do, and those who can't, don't. We are actually looking at moving out of York and possibly a little bit further down the road, because if we move to somewhere like Selby, we can get a 3-bedroom house for £750 a month, where here a 3-bedroom house is anywhere from £1,200 to nearly £2,000 a month, which is ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. And mostly only rented out to students. So yeah, so those of us who are affected by the bedroom tax, it was a nightmare. It still is a nightmare. I had a friend who was absolutely in bits at one point when it first came out a few years back, because she was being told that she would have to pay £45 a fortnight, £45 a fortnight, so £90 a month, for a room that wasn't actually technically a bedroom but was being counted as a bedroom, which was an offshoot workspace in the garage. It didn't have any electric. There only had a light in it. It wasn't big enough to be a bedroom legally, but she was still being told she would have to pay £45 a fortnight for it. Yeah, that was not good. So, food and utility bills. Cold weather payments, when it comes down to cold weather payments, if you are on a key meter and prepayment system, it's not £140 a year. It's £10. You will get £10 put on. Oops, I'm here. I am here. Good grief, where did that go? What is going on? All right, let me put that over there. So yeah, the only people that actually get the cold weather payment are people of the full £140 of the cold weather payment are people who have a bill account. So if you have a bill account, you get the full £140, but those people who are on key meters only get a tenner. No, I didn't fall off my chair. Apparently what it was I had my streaming software underneath what I was reading. It was underneath my notes. So yeah, something to take into account with that is the cold weather payment is only available in its full entirety of £140 a year if you have a bill account, not a key meter. And you need to apply for it before the 1st of August. They put it back last year. We couldn't even get the tenner. I was absolutely gutted. I mean, it didn't really... At the point when we went to apply for it, Tanny wasn't working yet. So that £10 could have meant an extra couple of days with the heating going, whereas, without it would have been more blankets, to be honest. And possibly turning the radiators off in the kitchen and in the bathroom so that we weren't using as much gas. So yeah, one of the major things that people have to do when you're on benefits is you need to shop around. So the last 3 videos that I've done, if you do find yourself on benefits right now, please do go and read them or watch them. Read them, watch them. Go and watch them, okay? Because there's loads and loads of tips there on things you're going to do. Watch for more episodes of this. I know this one's a little all over the place, and I'm sorry about that. But there are some really good blogs out there that can also give you some really good ideas. One that's called Surviving on Benefits, another one that's called Confessions of a Single Mum, which I think is Jack Monroe's, if I'm not wrong. No, it's Karen. Yeah, okay. So they both have a lot of really good shopping tips and a lot of good survival tips for living on benefits and pensions and things like that. So if you do find yourself on a low income, a lot of families during lockdown found themselves having to apply for universal credit because they lost their jobs at the beginning of lockdown because they just weren't going to be kept on. So including the entire staff of a certain pub network. When the owner... Yeah, I hope so. I hope it is handy. Yeah, I really do. When people realised at lockdown just exactly how small the universal credit amount was, the government were forced to put an extra put it up by £20 a week up. Obviously, people who are earning £3,000 a month are still going to be crying because they're only getting £380 a month, which is basically what it would have been. And they were upset about it genuinely. And all of a sudden, there was this big move to keep that £20 there. It has been removed by the government. So people who had it have had it taken away. Now, if I had people who, like myself, who were on ESA at the time, didn't get that, there was a court case about it, about the legacy payments not receiving the same treatment as the universal credit. And there has been nothing said about it since. Can't even find it. It was supposed to have gone through court in November of last year because anyone who was on ESA in that time should have been paid back £1,500, and they weren't. So who knows? But yeah, it has been now taken off, and it's back down to $340 something, I believe. I said it earlier anyway. It's somewhere on here. So yeah, it's really difficult. Now, if you've got to look at the fact that if someone's only getting £340 a month, okay, so let's, for argument's sake, say it's 343, which I believe it isn't much different to that. 340. I'm just going to say 340. Okay. Now we're going to take out what we pay per week in electric and gas. Now we take out 30 per week for electric and gas. So that's 120 minus 120 right there. You're down to 222 for a month. Okay, so what else have you got? You've got, say, internet. Yeah? So if you've got internet, here in York, you can get UFO internet, which is 1 gig upload and download, and it's through TalkTalk, and it's only £25 a month. So I'm going to use that as an example, okay? So we go minus 25 equals 197. Now, let's say you've got, we're not going to say you've got a pet. I don't think we're going to say you've got a pet. But then you've got the water bill, and the water bill could be £60 a month. So let's take £60 off a month. You will be paying council tax. You'll be paying, because you pay a small amount of council tax every month. So you need to take off £20 for that. We're assuming you've got housing benefit, so that's all gravy. Say, for example, you need to get to and from somewhere, but you don't have a car because you can't afford to run a car. So here, daily bus ticket is, let's say weekly, you have to get a weekly bus pass, okay? Just say, because it's cheaper than doing it every day. Now, I believe where we live, I'm pretty sure that they're £14. So I'm just going to put minus £14 for bus tickets. You're down to £93 a month to live on, okay? This is really important because this is where I need you guys to understand, who aren't on benefits, just exactly what people have to go through, okay? Let's just say, for argument's sake, they smoke, okay? They smoke. They're a smoker, right? £25 a month for 50-gram pouch of tobacco. That will cover your papers and filters as well, and a lighter. So that brings it. Oh, shit, I've lost it. Oh, no. All right, so we went from 340 minus 120 minus. No, what the hell happened there? 340 minus 120 equals, thank you, 25 equal, oh my God, it's gone spastic. Okay, it's gone really stupid. Right, 340 minus 120 for gas and electric minus, stop that, 25 for internet, so that's 105. I know, maths live on air here. This is like, and I'm not even doing it, okay? The thing is, right, so yeah, don't pick on me. So 25 for internet, £20 for, oh, look, see, look, it's done it again. All right, I'm going to have to do this on paper. This, right, this just, no. My phone is drunk. That's all I can say. Okay, so we've got 340 universal credit. Okay, we've got 120 gas and electric, and then we've got, which is 220, and then you're going to take away minus 25 for internet. So you've got 195 minus £60 for council tax. So that leaves you 135 minus $25 for your fags or e-cig, right? Because they're quite popular around here. 110. So that leaves you with 110 for the month. Okay, so for 4 weeks. So if we divide that by 4, let's see if this thing will work now. Come on. It's not hard. 110 divided by, no, that's minus. Wait, 110 divided by 4 equals 80. No, that's not right. How is that even possible? Okay. 110 divided by 4 equals £27.50. That leaves a person. Okay, and we haven't even taken out the bus passes on there. Oh, no, we did. Hang on. Council tax was 20. Bus passes was £14 a week. So that's 28.56. 56, that's thrown us out again. So that makes it council tax and bus passes. So you've got 76, so 8, 15, 9, 8 minus 7 is 1, 1, 1, 9 minus 25 for your smokes. That will leave you 4, 11, 9, 94. So that'll bring you down to 94. You haven't even taken your water out for that, by the way. So if you take your water out, okay, so you've got 94. Now you've got to take your water out. So if you're on your own, so we're going to say 23 quid for your water. Right, 1, 7. So it's £71 left to feed and clothe yourself. £71 divided by 4, £17.75 a week. 75 a week to feed yourself. Okay, to feed and clothe yourself. All right, and to have cleaning products and all of that kind of thing. That's what you're left with, and that is per person in this country living on benefits. If you think for 1 second that anyone wants to be doing that, you want your head read. If you think people have got it good on that system, you need your head read. I dare you to live on £17.75 a week and feed and clothe yourself. Because I tell you what, it is not the easiest thing in the world. And that is why I'm doing this with my channel, because I want to try and help people who are in that situation to try and get the head round things. If you've just gone from a full-time job where you're earning £3,000 to £4,000 a month, okay, and then all of a sudden you are on that kind of money, it's going to mess you up. It's going to completely mess you up. Your whole brain is going to explode. Because you have to start thinking differently. You have to start looking at things differently. You have to look at seeing where you can look after yourself, your family, mostly yourself, because that's we're just working with one person here. We're not working with a family. That makes it a little bit more complicated, but it doesn't make it any easier. So the only reason we have the bus pass in there, and I'll tell you for why. If you are on universal credit, you will be expected to go to the office at least once a week. At least once a week. You'll be expected to go to job interviews at least 3 times a week. And if you don't live within walking distance or a decent walking distance of the office or where you're going for interviews, you will have to have a bus pass. And to pay for it daily, up here is £4.40 a day. £4.40 a day. So if you did that for 5 days a week, it's £10 more than it would be to get a weekly bus pass. It's cheaper to get a monthly bus pass because I believe that they're only £48. But down in Devon, I can absolutely tell you this because I was living there not that long ago. It was already £7.70 for a day ticket on the bus. £7.70 for a day ticket on the bus per day. and people were expected to go from where we were to the nearest job centre 2-3 times a week. They didn't have the money to do it. Some of them walked and risked life and limb to do it because they had to cross a major A road to do so, or dual carriageway, because they just didn't have the money to do it. It's, so anyone who wants to turn around and fight me on this, they can. £6.70 for a single trip into my closest town, 5 minutes drive away. Yeah, exactly. People, there is a big push for people to go onto public transport and to use public transport again. But can I just tell you, it costs £280, £280 one way to go from here to visit my sister 4.5 hours away by car. £280 on the train. For £280 on the train in Australia, I could get from one end to the other, either north to south or east to west. Not even kidding. Return. We have one of the most expensive public transport systems in the world, in this country, and yet are expected to use it on a daily basis on money where you have less than £20 a week to live on. The benefits town is an hour away. We looked at coming up to Blackpool by train, £300, not going to happen. Yeah, no, exactly. I mean, I go on the Megabus. The reason I go on the Megabus is because if I book it 4 weeks in advance or more, I can usually get it for around £42 return from here to Devon, here to Plymouth. Yeah. From York to Plymouth, I can get about £42 return if I book it a month or two in advance. Yeah. The Megabuses probably are saving grace, to be honest, in a lot of things. And because I am disabled, I can sit downstairs. They do have very, very small seats, and it is crammed to the gunnels, I'm not going to lie. But it kind of is worth it just to be able to not have to pay stupid money to get where you're going. Yeah. So, living on benefits is not something that people choose. The majority of people on benefits in this country are over working age, and they can't be employed legally. They cannot be employed unless they're volunteering, which is why you find a lot of old people in second-hand shops. Yeah, get yourself a nice dose of COVID with it being crammed. Yeah. I believe on public transport like that, they are still expected to wear masks. I believe they are expected to still wear masks. Again, disabled seat downstairs behind the driver. I'm quite happy with that. Thanks. Away from the peoples. So yeah, but if you do book a Megabus, you have to ring them up to say that you want the disabled seat and let them know which one, because that's the difference. You can't book the disabled seat online. You have to ring them up after you book the seat. Whereas if it was the train, you could, but it doesn't matter. The other thing is, that's just no. I'm not going down that. I'm not going down that road. So when you see on the media, and I really hope that those of you who are not on benefits and are now being educated about people on benefits, when you see on the media of people being there's X amount of 25,000, 25% of people all on benefits and la 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 la, be aware that more than 50% of people that are on benefits, in fact, it's about 70% of people on benefits are actually OAPs. They're not on benefits. They've paid into that their entire bloody life. They're entitled to that money, and they should be allowed to enjoy it. So, and the rest, I think it was 60% of people on universal credit. 40% of people on universal credit are actually working, which means that businesses are not paying a wage that people can live on. And this is where I come to major arguments with people who own businesses. If you cannot afford to pay someone a proper living wage for where they are living, do not hire someone. Don't. All you're doing is making their life harder. Honestly. Okay, so you don't get as much money in your pocket. But if you feel that you have to hire someone, pay them a wage that is actually going to give them a living wage. £9.80 is not a living wage. As much as the government wants you to hear it and say it's a living wage, that was something that was done by David Cameron, who turned around and said, we're going to stop people calling this the minimum wage and call it a living wage from now on and put it up by 60p. When what was being called for at the time that he was Prime Minister was that minimum wage would go up to a living wage of £14.80. That was then. Now, we're looking at least £17 an hour being a minimum wage if you live in a major city. 19 if you live in London. Please think about that before you hire people. Please think about that. And think about it before you take on a job as well, because it's yours. And don't be scared to stop if you're in a job that you don't like, you're not enjoying it, and it's causing you more hardship than anything. Look for another one. Get something that's actually going to, do what it needs to do for you. Just had a look. My nearest megabus is in Gatwick. What's 2 hours drive away by car? Okay, the thing with megabus is this. If you ring them up and find out where they are where the closest point to you is on their route, they will stop. Not all the stops are actually on the megabus website. If you are on the route or there is a closer spot to you en route, they will stop there and either pick you up or drop you off. Yeah. So, yeah, I would ring them up and find out. Seriously. Because I think you'll find that there will be a route that is very close to you somewhere there that's definitely closer than Gatwick. There'll be someone who's driving past you. Yeah, so there we go. That was my little... It kind of ended up more like a bit of I don't know. I'm not sure it was quite what I wanted to do, but what I wanted to do was to give you guys who've never been on benefits before a little insight for what it's like for people who are on benefits, to give you a bit of the truth rather than what you hear in the media. And for those people who are on benefits, give you a few points and tips of what you are entitled to, what people, and understand you're not alone. You're not alone. You really, really are not alone. Okay. And it's hard. It's really, really hard. But what I'm trying to do on my channel is share the things that we've done over the years to help us be able to survive and thrive. Okay. Rather than survive and just not even survive, which I see so many people doing. Okay, there are ways and you can do it. It's just changing the way you look at things in a lot of respects and not being scared and not being led by fear, which is really, really hard, because if you are put in a situation where you are suddenly on benefits, it is hard not to be fearful. if you have only known that all your life or most of your working life, then don't be scared to not be on benefits anymore. Don't let that fear stop you from taking another step in your life either. Okay, because that can be just as equally as hard because you're taking away that safety net. Do you know what I mean? You've got this. We've got this. And together, we'll get through it. All right, guys, that's me for today. I will be back next Friday. We'll work out a theme. I do have a theme for next week. It's going to be about food prices. Okay, this very useful video for people. Thank you so much, Karen. I really appreciate it. I feel kind of went a little bit, but it's just one of those things, I guess. So yeah, next week will be about inflation and food prices, what I found, etc. So, and some tips on how to make the most of your pennies. Okay, so I will see you guys then, same time, same place, next week, next Friday, lunchtime. See you later, guys. Bye. Love yous.